The Great Prize Fight by Mark Twain. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Greg Marguerite. The Great Prize Fight by Mark Twain. The only true and reliable account of the Great Prize Fight for $100,000 at Seal Rock Point on Sunday last, between His Excellency Governor Stanford and the Honorable F.F. Lowe, Governor-elect of California. For the past month, the sporting world has been in a state of feverish excitement on account of the grand prize fight set for last Sunday between the two most distinguished citizens of California, for a purse of $100,000. The high social standing of the competitors, their exalted position in the arena of politics, together with the princely sum of money staked upon the issue of the combat, all conspired to render the proposed prize fight a subject of extraordinary importance, and to give it an éclat never before vouchsafed to such a circumstance since the world began. Additional luster was shed upon the coming contest by the lofty character of the seconds, or bottle holders, chosen by the two champions, these being no other than Judge Field, on the part of Governor Lowe, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, and the Honorable William M. Stewart, commonly called Bill Stewart, or Bully-ragging Bill Stewart, of the city of Virginia, the most popular as well as the most distinguished lawyer in Nevada Territory, member of the Constitutional Convention, and future U.S. Senator for the state of Washoe, as I hope and believe, on the part of Governor Stanford. Principals and seconds together, it is fair to presume that such an array of talent was never entered for a combat of this description upon any previous occasion. Stewart and Field had their men in constant training at the mission during the 6 weeks preceding the contest, and such was the interest taken in the matter that thousands visited that sacred locality daily to pick up such morsels of information as they might concerning the physical and scientific improvements being made by the gubernatorial acrobats. The anxiety manifested by the populace was intense. When it was learned that Stanford had smashed a barrel of flour to atoms with a single blow of his fist, the voice of the people was at his side. But when the news came that Lowe had caved in the head of a tubular boiler with one stroke of his powerful mawley, which term is in strict accordance with the language of the ring, the tide of opinion changed again. These changes were frequent, and they kept the minds of the public in such a state of continual vibration that I fear the habit thus acquired is confirmed, and that they will never more cease to oscillate. The fight was to take place on last Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. By 9 every wheeled vehicle and every species of animal capable of bearing burdens were in active service, and the avenues leading to the Seal Rock swarmed with them in mighty processions, whose numbers no man might hope to estimate. I determined to be upon the ground at an early hour. Now, I dislike to be exploded, as it were, out of my balmy slumbers by a sudden stormy assault upon my door, and an imperative order to get up. Wherefore I requested one of the intelligent porters of the Lick House to call at my palatial apartments and murmur gently through the keyhole the magic monosyllable "hash." That fetched me. The urbane livery stable keeper furnished me with a solemn, short-bodied, long-legged animal, a sort of animated counting-house stool, as it were, which he called a Morgan horse. He told me who the brute was sired by, and was proceeding to tell me who he was damned by, but I gave him to understand that I was competent to damn the horse myself, and should probably do it very effectually before I got to the battle ground. I mentioned to him, however, that I was not proposing to attend a funeral. It was hardly necessary to furnish me an animal gifted with such oppressive solemnity of bearing as distinguished his Morgan. He said in reply that Morgan was only pensive when in the stable, but that on the road I would find him one of the liveliest horses in the world. He enunciated the truth. The brute bucked with me from the foot of Montgomery Street to the Occidental Hotel. The laughter which he provoked from the crowds of citizens along the sidewalks he took for applause, and honestly made every effort in his power to deserve it, regardless of consequences. He was very playful, but so suddenly were the creations of his fancy conceived and executed, and so much ground did he take up with them, that it was safest to behold them from a distance. In the self-same moment of time he shot his heels through the side of a street car, and then backed himself into Barry and Patton's and sat down on the free lunch table. Such was the length of this Morgan's legs. Between the Occidental and the Lick House, having become thoroughly interested in his work, he planned and carried out a series of the most extraordinary maneuvers ever suggested by the brain of any horse. He arched his neck and went tripping daintily across the street sideways, rearing up on his hind legs occasionally in a very disagreeable way, and looking into the second-story windows. He finally waltzed into the large ice-cream saloon opposite the Lick House, but the memory of that perilous voyage hath caused me to digress from the proper subject of this paper, which is the great prize fight between Governors Low and Stanford. I will resume. After an infinitude of fearful adventures, the history of which would fill many columns of this newspaper, I finally arrived at the Seal Rock Point at 9:45, 2 hours and a half out from San Francisco, and not less gratified than surprised that I ever got there at all, and anchored my noble Morgan to a boulder on the hillside. I had to swathe his head in blankets also, because, while my back was turned for a single moment, he developed another atrocious trait of his most remarkable character. He tried to eat little Augustus Maltravers Jackson, the humble but interesting offspring of the Hon. J. Belvidere Jackson, a wealthy barber from San Jose. It would have been a comfort to me to leave the infant to his fate, but I did not feel able to pay for him. When I reached the battle-ground, the great champions were already stripped and prepared for the mill. Both were in splendid condition, and displayed a redundancy of muscle about the breast and arms which was delightful to the eye of the sportive connoisseur. They were well matched. Adepts said that Stanford's heft and tall stature were fairly offset by Low's superior litheness and activity. From their heads to the Union collars around their waists, their costumes were similar to that of the Greek slave. From thence down they were clad in flesh-colored tights and grenadier boots. The ring was formed upon the beautiful level sandy beach above the Cliff House, and within 20 paces of the snowy surf of the broad Pacific Ocean, which was spotted here and there with monstrous sea lions, attracted shorewards by curiosity concerning the vast multitude of people collected in the vicinity. At 5 minutes past 10, Brigadier General Wright, the referee, notified the seconds to bring their men up to the scratch. They did so amid the shouts of the populace, the noise whereof rose high above the roar of the sea. First round. The pugilists advanced to the center of the ring, shook hands, retired to their respective corners, and at the call of the timekeeper came forward and went at it. Low dashed out handsomely with his left and gave Stanford a pastor in the eye, and at the same moment his adversary mashed him in the ear. These singular phrases are entirely proper, Mr. Editor. I find them in the copy of Bell's Life in London, now lying before me. After some beautiful sparring, both parties went down. That is to say, they went down to the bottle holders, Stewart and Field, and took a drink. Second round. Stanford launched out a well-intended plunger, but Low parried it admirably and instantly busted him in the snoot. Cries of "Bully for the Marysville Infant!" After some lively fibbing, both of them are used to it in political life, the combatants went to grass. See Bell's Life. Third round. Both came up panting considerably. Low let go a terrific sidewinder, but Stanford stopped it handsomely and replied with an earthquake on Low's bread-basket. Enthusiastic shouts of "Sock it to him, my Sacramento pet!" More fibbing. Both down. Fourth round. The men advanced and sparred warily for a few moments, when Stanford exposed his cocoanut an instant, and Low struck out from the shoulder and split him in the mug. Cries of "Bully for the fat boy!" Fifth round. Stanford came up looking wicked, and let drive a heavy blow with his larboard flipper, which caved in the side of his adversary's head. Exclamations of "Hi! At him again, old Rusty!" From this time until the end of the conflict there was nothing regular in the proceedings. The two champions got